Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my page 112 tag for September 2022. The page 112 tag was started by Sean at Sean the Book Maniac. He based it off of a French literary prize wherein the long list for said prize was comprised solely by reading page 112 of the books in contention, which I believe were novel-length works, so page 112 falls somewhere in the early to mid-middle, usually in those sorts of books. And without any of the context of the beginning of the story, you only can go on the strength of the writing on that one page. So I've been using this tag since the beginning of COVID to cull my physical to-be-read shelves month by month. I take 3 slips of paper out of this handy-dandy Books and Cats mug, which holds the titles on my shelves that I acquired in 2021 and earlier. So I pick 3 at random, then I bring them on camera to read page 112 with you and discuss their merits and so forth. And then after that, I choose one of those books to join my month's TBR. Often, though, I do take other things into consideration. For example, when I'm judging the BookTube prize like I am now, sometimes I want shorter books, hoping for shorter books to add to my TBR. And right now, currently, I am nursing my cat, Missy. She's in hospice. She has cancer, and it's been a struggle, and it would be nice to get a book that's escapist, easy to get in and out of, I suppose. Maybe something science fiction or fantasy, since this is Sci-Fi September month for some of us. Although technically speaking, I just don't have that many SFF titles physically owned, so it's a long shot, but you know, that's I guess what the game is about, just seeing what odds you get. So without further ado, I think I'm going to go into book number 1. All right. They stick together, so let's see what I can do. I think that's just one. All right. Ooh, Unspeakable Things by Kathleen Spivak. I'm pretty sure I got this one from a library book sale, or my Friends of the Library bookstore a few years ago after adding it to my TBR list, probably from the Jewish Book Council. I'm sure that it is Jewish fiction of some sort. I'm not actually sure if I've played this, had this book on the page 112 tag game before, so I guess we shall see once I read the page. Okay, and then book number 2. See, I'm just trying to dig deep again. I don't know if that means I'll get something similar or something different. We shall see. And here we go. White Elephant by Julie Langsdorff. This is pretty different. I got it a couple of years ago at a local book fest, a winter book fest. This is literary fiction. It was compared to Meg Wolitzer. That was one of the reasons I went up to the author. And I know that I have played this book on the page 112 tag before, so huzzah, less post-production for me now. And finally, book number 3. Digging deep again, hoping maybe for some SFF, something different. We shall see. Okay, yeah, that's one. Nope, no SFF. We are back to Jewish fiction I found on Jewish Book Council, and I'm pretty sure I found this book a few years back at my library, Friends of the Library bookstore, and bought it there. This is The Days of All by Lauren Fox. And I'm also pretty sure that this is new to the game, so I might have some reading and discussing to do now, as well as gathering clips from earlier. But yeah, that's what I have. You have seen me grab these 3 books by now, but now I'm going to do it in real time, and actually then I'm going to read the pages on my own and you know, think through them and then discuss them with you. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm back, and the first book I have to talk about is Unspeakable Things by Kathleen Spivak, which indeed I did pull out for the page 112 tag game back in April 2021. So I'm going to go ahead and be lazy and just insert that clip here. As they tripped in single file, the men rubbed their hands in anticipation. "Here we are, my darlings," sang out the first violinist, as he had every lunchtime for 15 years. But silence greeted them. The kitchen was tidy and cold, no pots bubbling merrily on the stove, and the enamel kitchen table was unadorned. No tablecloth, no deep white bowls awaiting soup and gratitude. Nothing. The kitchen stood bare and clean and cheerless. Bewildered, the four men looked at one another. What was this? What was this terrible void? "Where are you, my little dumplings?" the men sang out, as if playing a little game of hide and seek. They tiptoed around the room into the pantry. "Where are you, our little mice, our dearest ones, our little strudels, our sweet little legs of lamb?" But there was no answer. Clasping their hands in front of them, the men coaxed, come out, little darlings. Are you hiding from us, silly ones? Oh, come here, our succulent pork chops, our sugar buns." Again, nothing but cold silence greeted them. "Now, my dearest ones, be reasonable," said the first violinist, trying a sterner note. "You know it is lunchtime, and we must eat. This is enough of joking." Still no answer. The men looked at one another. Their eyes widened, and they began to feel frightened. "Come now, our Kuchen, this has gone on long enough." The cold kitchen gave no answer, and the instruments waiting in the parlor were silent also. A vacancy filled the house. So this one definitely had some strengths and was lent by the fact, surely, that it's the end of a chapter. And my assumption is that Spivak is building up suspense because, she wants the reader to start the next one. So we're in this location where these men come home for lunch, it seems, and are expected to be greeted by people. I would assume children, given the nicknames. But the children are nowhere to be found, and they just keep on getting met with this silence. That being said, I feel like she went overboard with some of these foodie nicknames. I think it detracted from the suspense after a while. I'm just like, whoa, this is ridiculous. And though perhaps she was trying to convey, that when people get nervous, they tend to overspeak, I think, to fill that anxiety up with something like, where are you? I can't find you, so I'm going to keep talking until I find you, that sort of thing. So, I guess that's what I'm assuming for that, but I don't think it quite landed. But still, it's engaging enough. I'm certainly looking forward to getting to this, but this is certainly not one of the books I will be angsting about in this next section. The second book I pulled was White Elephant by Julie Langsdorff, which I also played previously for the page 112 tag game, exactly a year earlier than the last book. I'm going to read a little less than page 112, the full page actually, because there's a break at the very bottom, and it's just a random new scene setting, so I figured that wouldn't necessarily add anything substantial to this exercise. But anyway, they were quiet as they washed up, her father probably thinking about making time stand still, her mother about the wonderfulness of Grant. "I'm friends with Lindy Cox," Jillian screamed in her head. Her father grabbed an armful of signs from the hall closet. They were signs protesting the big houses, as if a sign could do any good. He had asked her to draw the picture like he thought she'd be excited to do it. At first she'd said no, more specifically, "No chance, Dad," but he looked so sad that she agreed to, as long as he didn't make her sign it. It was a drawing of 3 little square houses, each with 2 windows that looked like big sad eyes and a frowning door, alongside a huge house that towered above them all, with an expressionless door and squinty window eyes. That house had a red X drawn through it. He gave one to anyone who would sign the petition. A lot of the lawns in town had them up now, and it made Jillian feel secretly proud when she saw them. "I'm off to get more signatures. Want to come, Jillian?" "Homework," Jillian said. "Rehearsal should be over by 10, her mother said, kissing the top of Jillian's head. Jillian laid her books across the kitchen table, still slightly moist from the sponge. She didn't have much homework, half an hour maybe, unless she did the Greek temple project, but Lindy had assured her that would be taken care of. How weird was that? She wanted to watch TV, but their TV sucked too much to bother. She sighed and settled into her homework, looking up now and then to see the changing images on the Cox's TV next door, a vivid reminder of all she didn't have. Okay, well, this one in a way suffers the most through things that could be beyond its control. The first of which is that I don't remember a lot of the specifics of the plot of what drew me to this book. I think one of the major things it did is that Langsdorff has been compared to Meg Wolitzer, who's one of my favorite authors, and I knew it was a suburban drama, and that she also took inspiration from the DC metro area where I live. But I didn't know a lot of the specifics, which in this small section seems to be about, or these characters at least seem to be dealing with some sort of social activism, signing petitions. The father is apparently the most interested in it, apparently has something to do with homes. And the daughter kind of comes off as a little wishy-washy, like she doesn't want to join him for it, but she's still proud of it. I don't know. And obviously there's some name dropping and stuff that we'd know more about who these people are if we read the beginning of the book, and we'd have more association of Julian's relationship to Lindy, or the mom's relationship to Grant, or whatever. So, in a way, that's one of the unfair things about page 112, that yes, you have to, text should stand on its own, but stories are made up through progression of relationships and action. So anyway, I do have to say, out of the three of these, this probably grabbed me the least, but I will definitely keep it on my shelves, and hopefully I'll get to it sometime in the future. And finally, I have Days of Awe by Lauren Fox as book number 3, which is a book I have never played before for my page 112 tag game. So that means I have to read it and discuss it with you now in person. I've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing this. A lot of my recent pulls have been previously played, and I've been able to, go to past videos and just insert clips. But it's exciting to be able to analyze in real time again. So here I go. And we're starting in the middle of what seems to be a paragraph of dialogue. She seemed a bit disoriented, or maybe just unusually sad. I tried to convince myself that she was fine and that you and I could still spend the day together, but I'm afraid I do need to go check on her. My system flooded with a relief-shame cocktail. I took a breath, delighted that I wasn't being rejected, then quickly adjusted my face into a sympathetic frown. "It's okay," I said. "Of course, some other time." Cal shook his head no and said yes, as if he'd suddenly confused assent with negation. He was troubled, flustered, the opposite of the calm and assured man he'd been the other 2 times I'd met him. The sand shifted. My perception of him altered in ways I couldn't figure. I felt my chest click open one tiny notch, and then I offered to come along. And then there's a break. My hand is still on his knee in the car, which I realized too late was a poorly planned gesture. What will I do? Just keep it here until we get to the nursing home? In fact, I have no idea where we're going. What if it's 45 minutes away? What if it's in Detroit? Maybe I'll just leave my hand here forever, dead weight, heavy, and growing increasingly sweaty, on Cal's sharp knee. Finally, desperate, I snatch it away, pretend to cough, and cover my mouth. After a few minutes of silence, during which I contemplate what a mistake it is for me to ever leave the house, we finally pull into the parking structure of Lutheran Manor Assisted Living for Seniors. "We have arrived at Lutheran Manor," I announce in an English accent, and luckily Cal laughs. It is a beige, defiantly bland rectangle of a building, pocked with tiny windows. If you didn't know better, the manor could be a plain old apartment building built in the 1960s, a brick and concrete fortress against whimsy. So yeah, this is a strange one, actually. I had to look at it a little bit further after even reading this to you to try to figure out the tenses. And now I think I get it. The first part of the page, which is before the break, is in past tense all around. And then the second part is in present tense, which I don't quite understand, but maybe, there's a flow to it from the previous pages that would explain that, probably usually this would then be in present tense, but that, that section in the beginning was some, backstory insert, something like that. So anyway, but there's some intriguing things here. I feel like there's some intriguing relationship clashes. Assuming that Cal is the person talking in the beginning, the main character doesn't want to spend time with him, but also doesn't want to, be disliked. And then she does feel enough, I think, empathy for his situation, about like how uncertain he seems about what he's doing, that she offers to come anyway. And that in itself also seems to be anxiety producing. Like the longer she stays in the car, the more uncomfortable she is. She has his hand on his knee, and it seems like she's uncertain with that social interaction, and it turns into a big thing where she has to then, make up an excuse to cough to get out of it. So, I mean, I guess that's all really, that ambiguity of character motivations and interactions and feelings about each other is some of the bread and butter, I suppose, of literary fiction. It's what we're trying to parse. And then I also really liked the physical description of the senior nursing home, the whole, mockery of, or maybe I'm reading into that, that's my own bias, mockery of like the droll 1960s affectation of architecture. But it was well described, so I like that as well. So I guess now, after going through it like this, the big thing that's keeping me from wanting to read this book right now is this particular scene has to do with people visiting a nursing home. And honestly, for all I know, the person they're visiting in the nursing home is, still really active and spry and, not in any immediate physical danger. But still, it, gives me the feeling of someone nearing the end of life and needing extra care. And that is not escapism for what I'm going through right now, so I feel like I kind of want to put this down. And the funny thing about going back to past iterations of this game is that usually the books that are still in the running for the page 112 tag were my least favorites of those past games, which is why I didn't read them. But, looking back on them and doing comparisons and contrasts now with a new technical batch of books, I see new strengths and I see new weaknesses, and I remember the strength of Unspeakable Things being that growing sense of tension that, was aided along probably by the fact that it was the end of a chapter and that the author probably deliberately wanted to make you want to keep reading. But again, this is about, missing children. My bias tells me it's probably a Holocaust novel. I mean, I haven't actually read the flap to be sure, but that's my memory of this book. So again, this does not feel like escapism to me right now. So I am superseding any other page 112 tag rules with that. And that leaves White Elephant by Julie Langsdorff, although that makes it sound more disappointing than it is, because even though when I last read this for the page 112 tag, I had some quibbles, I suppose, about this page. The truth is, it's family drama. It's compared to Meg Wolitzer. It seems like if there's any escapism to be had, it's into the malaise and travails of suburbia. It'll give me something new and different to think about. And I like what's here. I like, the clash between, what seems to be a teenage character and her parents, and her trying to sort of make her own way. And like here she is helping her dad and kind of liking her artwork, but also not wanting to be associated with it. And here she also has, your usual sort of jealousy about the neighbors and the better television they have and that sort of thing, and concerns about school. So I don't know, there was a lot of interesting promise, I would say, in this page about a full life for a character. So I'm hopeful in going into this and excited to finally be picking up this book after talking to the author a few years ago now, pre-COVID. And I hope that, like Meg Wolitzer, who blurbed it, I also really like this. So that about covers it for me now. You can find the Goodreads links for all three of these books listed down below, as well as the YouTube link for my TBR games playlist, where I have all my other page 112 tag videos and also the other TBR game that I play quarterly. And other than that, a major thing I like to do in these outros is highlight another booktuber's TBR game, a readathon, or something like that to, shout out the community as you do, and also, sort of insert my game into that milieu. So anyway, this month I'm going to go really hyper-local and talk about a specific game that a specific booktuber is playing this specific month. She decided for September, she just posted this recently, this is Fun Fantasy Books, she decided to do a duologies TBR of fantasy books. So at least one of us is, honoring Sci-Fi September. So she had a whole list of different types of duologies based on their themes, and then she was doing some draws based on having to read on theme or only one book versus two of the books. So I thought that was really fun, you know, paying homage to ye old fantasy duology. Anyway, I will link her video down below. And you will see me back on this channel hopefully very soon to do my most recent AM reading video, where, who knows, maybe I will get up to some SFF reading, even if I didn't get to it in this game. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.